All right, so it says draw a graph that represents direct variation with your constant of variation as a half. That just means your slope is a half. So it's up 1 over 2. And what point does it have to also go through to be a direct variation? The origin. Okay, good. So you're going to start at 0, 0, and then just go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. You can count to 2, you can do it. All right. So it's just got to go through the origin and have whatever slope you're told. That's all that is. So like if it said the slope was 3/4, you'd start at the origin, go up 3 over 4, up 3 over 4. Cool with the first one? All right. For these, you're going to determine if it's a direct or an inverse variation and then give the equations. Let's just review really quick. Direct was y equals kx. Inverse is y equals k over x. So just opposites of each other. What you can do is type the points into the calculator and see if they make a straight line or not. Let's try that for the first one. That's probably what you're going to do when you're taking your quiz, is just test it. Actually, instead of putting each individual point, I'm going to do it as a table because that's what it is in there. So let me just type them in and we're just going to see if it makes a straight line or not. So I typed them in, I'm going to hit the little magnifying glass. Does it look like a straight line? Like if you connected them? Yeah, and it would go through the origin. All right, cool. So we're going to say direct. And then I just need to figure out what the slope is, how much up and how much over it goes. And when you look at the calculator, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, I guess you could zoom in on like 2 of these. I don't know. I struggle with that a little bit. Let me try and zoom in. Yeah, see, I don't know. That's a lot of little boxes to count and the numbers got kind of big. So here's what you can do instead, is just divide them. So if you take 9 divided by 2, is that going to reduce? No. So I'm just going to leave it 9 halves. And you can test all the other ones too. If you do 18 divided by 4, that does reduce to 9 halves. And if you kept doing the rest of them, you could type them in the calculator too. They're all going to reduce to 9 halves. So your slope is 9 halves, up 9 over 2. So your equation is going to be y equals 9 halves x. Again, let me just show you in the calculator, because if that bothered you, like all those fractions, you can just type them in. Like what was that third one? -27 divided by -6. Look, if you just hit the little fraction button, it'll turn it back into 9 halves for you. So like your first instinct should always be, how do I type it in the calculator? Because calculator will do so much for you. All right, so let's try this one. Let me go back to the calculator. Let me type in this table. All right, so 1, -2, 4, 8, and then we got 16, -8, 4, 2. So if I hit the little magnifying glass, does that make a straight line? No, it does not. So it is not direct variation. It's got to be the other one, which is inverse variation. So instead of dividing, like see how I did 9 divided by 2 to get this slope for this one? Instead, you just multiply them. What's 1 times 16? It's 16. -2 times -8 is also 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Like if you keep going, they're all going to give you 16. And so your equation is y equals 16 over x. So again, for the inverse, you just have that fraction bar in. So just try and type them in. If it makes a straight line, great, it's direct. If not, then it's inverse. This is how they do this on the SOL. They would have you click where you want to put points, like click on the graph. It says put 2 additional points on there to make a direct variation. Well, what's 1 point like automatically you would put on there? Yeah, the origin. So 0, 0. And then you've got to do another one that would make this be a straight line. So like just keep the slope pattern going. Like what are these 4 units apart? 1, 2, 3, 4. So just go 4 in the other direction. So it would be the point -1, 4. Do you see what I did there? Like just, you can count and keep a pattern going, you're going to get it. Like if you can count little boxes and just make a line, then you're going to get it. All right. All right. And then here are ones that we're going to have to actually work out. The amount of space available on a bus varies inversely with how many passengers. The more passengers that are on the bus, the less space you all have. Do you get what I'm saying? More passengers, you're all crowded together, less space. That's why it's inversely. So it's going to be y equals k over x. Or you can use the A for amount of space and P for passengers if you want, but you know, the letter doesn't matter. Don't get hung up on that, all right? It says there's 8 passengers for 30 square feet of space. It actually doesn't even matter where you put them for inverse. You can't mess it up. I'm gonna put 8 in for Y and 30 in for X. For direct, it kind of matters, but for inverse, it doesn't make a difference. You can't mess it up. All right, and then what would you do to both sides to solve that? Okay. Yeah, multiply over the 30. 8 times 30 is going to be 240. You could type that in the calculator. All right, and it says, write an equation to represent this. Well, we found K is 240, so it would be Y equals 240 over X. You're not asked to find anything else. It just says write the equation, so that's it. That's all you got to do. You lose your mind and you don't want to write any of this out. If your answer is correct, I'm going to give it to you, right? If you read this and you go, oh, inversely, all I have to do is multiply those together and just type it in the calculator and get 240, you really don't even need to show this. You can just write that. I'm fine with that. Okay? As long as your answer is right, we're good. You're just putting it in the calculator. All right, number 6, the amount of people helping complete a project varies directly with time. So we're going to put Y equals KX. It says directly. 15 people, you know, I should have made that inversely though. That doesn't make any sense for that to be directly. The more people helping, the less time it should take, right? Oh, well, just go with it. It said directly, so that's me. I messed that up. It says directly, so we're just going to go with it. All right, so it says 15 people can complete the project in 6 hours. So I need to stay consistent with it this time, like it is going to make a difference. I'm going to let Y be the people. So 15 people goes in for Y. And I'm going to have X be the time. So 6 hours. So 6 in for X. What would you do to solve that? Yeah, divide by 6. Does 15 over 6 reduce? Will that reduce as a fraction? What will they both divide by? 3. Good. But if you're not sure, look, I just typed 15 divided by 6 in here, turned it back into a fraction, 5 over 2. So, you know, use your calculator. So we get K is 5/2. And I think that's actually all it asked for. Yeah, see, it says, what is the constant of variation? That's your answer. You don't even have to do anything else. It just find K was it. All right, and then number 7, time it takes to drive to a destination varies directly with the distance, okay? And that makes sense. The further away something is, the bigger the distance, the longer it's going to take you to get there, right? Like it would take you longer to drive to California than across the street, okay? Further away, longer it's going to take. So it's going to be Y equals KX, direct. And again, you need to be consistent this time. I'm going to let Y be the distance and X be the time. So it says 450 miles. I'm going to have 450 be my distance. And it takes 3 hours. So what would you do to both sides to solve? We're going to divide by 3. So let me type that in. So we got 450 divided by 3. So 150 equals K. So then we're going to start back over, put the 150 back in for K. Bless you. So you have Y equals 150X. How long will it take to drive 210 miles? Now I made my distance be the Y. So I have to put 210 in for my distance. And then last step, you would divide by 150. So let me type that in. So 210 divided by 150. Yeah, can you wait till I'm done? So 1.4. And I won't take off if you don't put units, but it would be 1.4 hours because it's how long would it take you? All right, and then the last one. This looks overwhelming because it's a lot to read, but it's really not that bad. It says a vehicle can be rented for an hourly rate, all right? When it's rented for 2 hours, the price is 50. When it's rented for 7 hours, the price is 175. Before I even go any further, would you want to multiply those numbers or divide those numbers? If it's rented for 2 hours, you spend 50. If it's rented for 7 hours, you spend 175. We're going to divide. If you do 50 divided by 2, what do you get? 25. And if you do 175 divided by 7, just to double check, I mean, it's going to be the same, but if you do 175 divided by 7, see how it comes out to 25? Now, say you try and divide them and it's not the same. Then instead of dividing them, you would multiply them and see if they come out the same. Just try divide and try multiply and see which one works. But that 25 represents how much you're spending per hour. So H is hours, P is price. Is this direct or is it inverse? What do you think? Price for renting a vehicle. It is going to be direct because the more hours, the more what? You're gonna spend, right? The more you rent it for, like the more hours, the more price you're gonna spend. So we can narrow it down to which two? Yeah, A and B. So get rid of these. And then which one has the 25 in it? A. So A is your answer for that. All right, so just gonna use your common sense and narrow it down.